Awesome. Well, first time doing this, but welcome everyone to the Hammer Podcast. We're happy to have you. Today, we're going to be speaking with April Ross, who is the mother of Griffith Ross, who we had on the podcast just a few weeks ago. So, April, happy to have you on.
Thank you. This is my first time doing a podcast, so you'll have to help me find my way through this.
I'm sure you'll do great. And we have the famous
Yeah.
Jason, the guy who actually runs the podcast.
Right.
So hopefully that introduction was worthy. But
It was awesome, man. It was awesome. It's awesome.
cool.
I want
I might get,
to move your mic away from your just a little bit.
is it really hot? There you
That's
go.
better. That's better.
Better? Okay. Yeah, my voice is kind of loud.
Trying to get an equal setting on your voice and April's voice. Okay. So April, first question I want to ask, I guess, before we get into the meat of it, how did you find out about Agape?
Okay, well, Griffin was started when he went to Missouri Military Academy. We were at, I don't really know what it was called, but they were doing some sort of, it was like not a show, but some military function type thing, like where they march and this, that, and the other. And I was standing there next to one of his mentors, and he was like, I really like Griffin. He said, I know he's pushing your buttons, because he was, and he told you in his podcast, he was very honest. He was doing the absolute bare minimum at MMA. He said, I know a lot of guys who have, if you really want to shock him straight, there's this place called Agape, and we've never had anyone that's gone there and then come back here and not be appreciative and have a whole different attitude when they come back. And, so to me, that sounded fabulous.
Right.
I'm thinking, hey, but now in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, he's going to go to this place, maybe grow his own food, do some wilderness exercises. He's going to, we'll let him see that he needs to suck it up, Buttercup, and get busy. And that is, sadly, as we will go into, not how it turned out at all.
Right. But that's the extent of the information that you got initially about it.
That was initially, that's how I heard about it. I'd never heard about Agape. I've never researched anything. I didn't know anything about it other than so I guess you would call that word of mouth. Yeah. So I know he talks in his podcast about being kicked out of MMA. Mm-hmm. I called him. We'd given him chance after chance after chance. Truly, to where we were like, we don't know what to do. We have to do something. We don't know what to do anymore. And I called Agape through their internet. I just looked it up on the internet. Of course, anyone can do so. And you see acres of rolling hills and farmland and I like this school facility that looks fairly new. It doesn't look like an old rackety shack, that they're living. I'm thinking, okay, this ought to sock it to him pretty good or whatever.
All the kids all the kids are smiling, petting the horses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they're all smiling. And one thing that got me is there was, I don't know if it's still on their website, but at the time it was on their website. There's a little boy, and I don't have a clue who this is, like, for their advertisement. There's a little boy, and he's holding a sign like this, and it said, I love you, Mom.
Oh, yeah.
And he's so, that. Have you seen it?
I remember seeing that. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's like smiling, and then they have some quotes that kind of run across the screen from parents saying, I don't know what I would have done without Agape. He saved, that school saved my son's life. We never can thank them enough.
It sounds
some really
amazing.
souped up compliments.
Yeah,
Go ahead. I could
I was
just
gonna say from a parent's perspective, sorry, like that
yeah.
that sounds amazing. Like your kid's out of control, and
Yes.
they'll turn him into this
And
holding a
it
sign that
even
says "I love you, mom."
says
Like,
that we do this, like I don't want to quote it, but I don't know verbatim, but I'm pretty sure it said something about loving and nurturing environment.
It
aw,
just seeing the kid, the video, the pictures going. Okay, we're gonna take the picture. Smiles. Okay,
Yeah.
we're done.
He's,
yeah,
he's held
He
a
starts
sign. It
crying
says,
again.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
it says, I love you, mom. And I mean, bless his heart, he looked sincere. He was probably scared to death not to.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That or he's hoping his mom sees it and she's like, "Oh, he's changed. I'll take him home now." Because I remember a lot of the
Yeah.
kids at the school would fake like they're this perfect kid that you want your child to be. That way, the parents will be like, "Oh my gosh, he's changed. I'll take him home now." But the kids were just doing what the
Well,
parents wanted.
that's the thing. Like with Griffin, and I'm sure we didn't want Griffin to change. Like we didn't want him. We want his personality. Like he
Yeah.
fits in with us. He was raised to be the person he is. We love that. Just wish he'd do his work at the same time. Like he was never a violent kid. He's
Mhm.
not a good kid. He's very empathetic and compassionate to others. He really is. Like he can't stand to
Yeah.
see someone bullied and things like that. But nonetheless, he'll be the first one in line for the party. And if he's not the first one in line to have the party, he was just riding the edge.
Yeah.
So that's where we were. That's why we started out with MMA, and then he still wasn't doing his work. So we thought, oh, this'll get him. This'll, really put some fear in him, or not fear, but appreciation, basically. But I'm not going to go. I mean, I can't imagine any parent just sending them. I mean, no offense to any that did, but
Right.
I had to go see it for myself. And so a man who I don't think had much to do with the actual discipline or the running of, he didn't have a lot of contact with the students themselves.
Mhm.
His name was Charlie, and he super nice fella on the phone. I mean, exactly what you would hope for if you knew that your child was going to go to this place. Is this man's so super nice. He's telling me all the things that I want to hear.
Mhm.
Maybe he believes those things. That, I mean, who am I to say? I don't know, but
Or just a master manipulator.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a nice guy, and he took me on a tour of the school. So like he was like, we built all this is new, and then we're adding this on. Like it all looked it was clean.
Yeah.
It was like, it wasn't a shack. It wasn't like a crappy, falling apart, old beat up, it wasn't
Right.
like I was sending him to go get his ass whooped in the woodshed.
Right.
It looked nice.
Yeah.
It looked nice, but it also, I thought, he can do without the video games and stuff. He can.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but like we felt like it would jerk him into some
Discipline.
Discipline, appreciativeness. And again, Griffin would never have. He's always been very polite. He's never been one to buck authority per se, in terms of, he would never, I cannot imagine him ever being rude to an adult. I mean, that would not be tolerated in this house. They are to say, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. Just, it's Southern manners. We expect it, and we want to raise gentlemen. And so Griffin's was mainly just his grades. He just would not do anything. So I don't know if I'm trying to do this chronologically.
Oh, no, you're fine. I'm curious though. Like you're saying that you were hoping that he would learn some, accountability, some appreciate.
I wanted
More
him to be
appreciative.
appreciative. I didn't want him to be. We don't want to raise entitled assholes. That
Right.
was our, like, seriously. I know that sounds that's not the most ladylike way for me to say it, but truly that we don't want to raise entitled assholes. We want them to appreciate and know to work hard and know to respect their elders and respect authority and do their part.
Be a gentleman. Be a gentleman.
Be a gentleman.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, but I'm wondering real quick though. I'm wondering like so they showed you the grounds and the facilities and stuff like that. But I'm wondering if you remember how they spoke to you, how they were going to help him with these things you're hoping that he would improve on.
Yes, what I was told on this day is that he would have, because at this point it was just me. Like I hadn't officially, we hadn't signed him up. It was just a tour. It was just let me see what this place looks like. I wasn't just going to send him there, not having checked it out, done some background. I should have done a little more clearly. Anyway, we get there I get there and you asked me what I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's fine. I was wondering so they showed you the facilities and everything, how pretty it is there. But as far as like behavioral and stuff,
like how they would. Okay.
Yeah.
They told me that he would have a buddy, or I think that's what they called him, a buddy or it wasn't a mentor, it was like a buddy that would be with him. They showed me the showers. This goes along with the buddy thing. The shocking thing to me, I didn't realize it was all one big room. They told me that he would never be a time when he was less than, 4 to 6 feet away from an adult. So I'm thinking, okay, well, it won't be like juvie where he's going to have to sleep with one eye open or, I didn't want to.
Right.
At least I thought I didn't want to send him to a place that was going to abuse him.
Right.
Much to my surprise.
Yeah.
So anyway, we get there, or let me back up.
Yeah.
They said that he told me basically just how they would work, that they had this PACE program, told me it was accredited, that it would transfer.
Right.
Interesting thing, I will say, one interesting thing is this, and I found this very odd. I tried to pay up front for the year because that's how they presented. It's a 1-year program. And like at MMA, we, I don't know what other people do, but we personally just pay one time and be done with it for the year.
Yeah.
They didn't want that. They wanted it paid monthly. So I'm now looking back, I think I know why. Because kids, I think there's more turnover than what we realize.
Yeah.
And that way they don't have to deal with refunds and all of that. Because, if we paid up front, it's another thing they advertise is how much cheaper it is.
Yeah.
Than other boarding schools. No, it's not. I mean, no, by like $2,000 cheaper. Yeah. But when you're talking $40,000, that's not going to make or break.
Right.
Someone's decision to send them to be abused and mentally tormented and in my opinion, what it felt like a cult.
Yeah.
That was I just felt yucky, but that's on in once.
Right. On the front end, though, you felt, it was a nice facility.
Yeah, I mean, I hated to do it. I knew it was going to suck. I mean, I knew it was going to suck. And that is what led me to Julio.
Right.
Okay. So where were we talking about? This is how I was introduced to Julio.
Right. Yeah, you're about to go into that. Correct.
Okay. So the way that I was introduced introduced and was given the information about Julio was when I called to see, I knew myself well enough to know that it was hard enough sending them there, especially when they tell you, there'll be no contact for X amount of time. And no visits for 4 months. I've never been away from my kid, even
Right.
when he was in military school.
Was that a bit of a
Yeah.
red flag though when they said that?
Well, I felt like it was maybe an adjustment period.
Okay.
I know that's how that, like, a lot of rehabs are run that way. You know,
Right.
you have to be in a blackout mode for a certain amount of time, to kind of get you in their routine without outside. So I don't know, maybe I justified it in my own mind that way.
Okay.
So he said, when I called the office, they said we have a guy that works here that has a
Transport.
youth transportation company, but he also happens to work here, and he does this all the time. He's great. You'll love him. I'll let you talk to him. I'll introduce you, which he did. Met
Hmm.
him, and it was all smiles, and we are going to take such good care of your son. And this has been, you can imagine. I mean, it was
Yes.
just
Right.
same old same, same song and dance that I'm sure that they've done a million times. Well, I
Right.
knew myself well enough to know that if I were to go, because I knew that if Griffin had any time whatsoever to study up on it, he's a smart cookie. He was gonna figure out a way not to have to go. So I knew he couldn't have, like, notice. I
Mhm.
also didn't want to humiliate him in front of everyone and all of his friends at MMA by sending him to Agape. So I got with Colonel Grabowski, whom I respect immensely, and he said, "I'll be there for it. I'll be there. I'll make sure that everyone's in their beds. No one, is watching and sees anything." Like, he was very uh, empathetic and kind in that respect. Now he's from MMA. So Julio says, and he said, when I called and spoke with him, because he had given me his card, he said, think about it. And if you want to do this, I do this all the time. And we go, and we just explain, what the school is about, and all of that. And we'll acclimate him to things. I mean, it seemed very, I did not have any clue that he would be handcuffed. Like, I could see if
They
he was
never mentioned that?
resisting. No.
Wow.
I want to say that maybe he asked me if he was resistant or combative. Not asked me, like, said, we've had to, restrain. This is a thing. Some kids really fight. I'm like, you won't have that trouble with Griffin. I mean,
Yeah.
he's not going to do that. It would have blown my mind had he, done something like that. And I knew myself well enough to recognize that if I got Griffin in the car to take him myself, I'd weenie out. I'd be like, oh, I mean, he started bawling. He knows just what buttons to push, and he knows that he knows. Like, he'll
Yeah.
tell me, just like he said that I told him. I did tell him that day. I said, you think, because I warned him, I'm like, you better shape it up, or I'll send you this place called Agape. I've been doing some reading, and I'm not kidding you. One more thing, and you're going to Agape. Like, we've had it. We've had it. We've given you so many opportunities, so many chances, and he didn't take me seriously. Like, he really didn't. I could hear it in his voice. I said, I know you don't think I have the balls to do this, Griffin. Try me.
Yes.
Try me. You try and see if I get one more call from MMA. And I did. So when I got that call, I called Julio's number, and he was picked up that night.
Yep. That's what he said. He goes, too
And
fast.
it
She had the balls.
Yeah, she had the balls to do it.
was a few $1,000s, which I also thought was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it cost several $1,000s.
Wow.
to drive him from Stockton, from um, Mexico, Missouri, which is close, like 30 minutes from Columbia, to Stockton, which is like 30 minutes from Springfield.
Wow. That's, I mean, you're paying for the safety of your child. So, I mean, is there really a price tag on that? I'm saying that
No.
sarcastically, but
But you know, she
No.
she didn't. Hey,
I do get that. Absolutely.
she
right.
didn't.
But
She
at the same
didn't.
time,
She didn't pay for the dirty talk, though. Tell you that.
no,
Oh,
or the
God.
handcuffs.
Nor the
Yeah.
handcuffs.
Griffin's like, he said,
Yeah.
"Now, Mom, I'm going to tell you." He said, "So I did my podcast." He said, "But I'm going to tell you, okay, I did cuss a little." I watched it that first day I watched. I'm like, "You cussed a little? Dude, you started out slow and you like accelerated."
Yeah.
But I've learned by now I don't pick my battles. If that's at this point, I pick my battles. If
Yeah.
saying cuss words as a 16-year-old boy is the worst I get, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Anyway, on
Yeah.
to, so he gets there. I can't really speak to things that went on while he was there because we had absolutely zero contact.
Right. So you know that he got picked up, right?
I know
And
that he got picked up.
And did they let you know that he got there safely or
Yes.
anything? Okay, that's good.
Julio, yes. Well, and I was kind of blowing his phone up because I wanted to know. I mean, it was like in the middle of the night. I need to know. I mean, I've met this dude one time.
Yeah.
And
yeah. You're like, here's
that's
$1,000. Go kidnap my kid and take him here.
That's not commonplace, to say,
Right.
"Hey, I don't know you. I met you at this weird school, but that I'm fixing to send my kid to." But
Yeah.
I did not know the extent. Like, it was as shocking to me to hear, for me to hear these podcasts of Griffin and the others. They're also similar.
Yeah.
And it's so disgusting. I can't.
Right.
I can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah, and the information is getting out there now. Like there's a lot of these podcasts out. There's newspaper articles. There's legislation in the works. There's all this stuff that's happening now. But even to your point where you were at with your kid, like you're so frustrated at wit's end, and you thought that's the thing is you thought you were doing what's best for him. You thought you were making a good decision for him, for his future. It wasn't
absolutely.
It wasn't you're just trying to wipe your hands with them and show them off nothing, right? Yeah.
No,
so it's
and that's where both myself and Agape learned that we were not going to be best buds.
Yeah.
Their system and I, because no, I was absolutely not trying to wash my hands of the problem. Clearly I was out of ideas.
Yeah.
The military school was out of ideas. Let's try this. It was just an example of and I've told Griffin but we will never give up on our kids ever.
Yeah.
No matter what they do. We'll never give up on them, and we'll never lose hope, and we'll always be here no matter the circumstance. And that's why it sickens me, and I'm guilt-ridden to this day that he spent over 4 months there. It absolutely disgusts me. I had no idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
And your communication with him, when he was there, what was that
none.
like? So nothing at all.
None. Okay, we got one letter.
But he wrote more than one letter, and you wrote more than one letter as well, right?
Yes.
Right?
He received the only thing that he received from us was his Christmas packages. Yo-yo and all.
Yo-yos.
Yeah. Whatever your kid wants
I
for
ran out of time
Christmas
today, but I was gonna, there were so many restrictions and all of these things.
Yeah.
And I was like, what can I send? I mean, I knew cell phones weren't allowed, they weren't allowed anything.
Yeah.
And he stayed in academic blue, which is, guess what? Not doing your schoolwork. It's same old, same old. So it really wasn't. He was like, Mom, of course, he told me this after, he couldn't tell me when he was there.
Right.
Well, I have a degree in education. I know what needs to be going on. He
Hmm.
said there's a lady that stands, and I don't know if it was the same when you guys attended uh, either Agape or one of its affiliates, but there's a lady that stands in the middle of the room, like at a podium, and everyone is in their own little, what I assume is a cubicle of sorts.
Yeah.
And you just go through and mark, like literally pencil paper.
Yep.
There's no instruction. There's no one to actually teach anything.
No.
So when I called about grades, I was told that really the first 4 months, they really want to just work on getting their behavior under control. Well, Griffin wasn't a behavior issue. Like he wasn't
Yeah.
there for oppositional defiance disorder or something like that. He just wasn't doing his work. He just wouldn't. He was just acting like an entitled asshole, and we
Yeah.
wanted him not to act that way.
Yeah.
Um, but they said that they weren't really concerned about the grades. They weren't. That wasn't their mindset. The first 4 months before the 4 month visit. Apparently, that's a big deal, which
Yeah.
we didn't get to experience because of COVID. That was another terrible situation. It was fixing to be his 4 month. I mean, Griffin literally had counted down the days. He could tell me how many days, hours, minutes, and seconds
Yeah.
for his 4 month visit. And I think in his mind, he thought we could have I'll finally get to be face to face with them and I can tell them what's going on. And Mark and I had already discussed that we wouldn't, they mentioned something about staying on their property, that you have to
Overnight.
stay on
Oh,
their
oh,
property.
yeah. For the visit, for the time that you're with your child,
Yes.
for the first visit, you can't take
It's
them
like
off
this little
campus.
house thing that they have that maybe he could spend the night with us or something like that. And I told Mark, I said, we're not, like, we seriously talked about it, and we are not conspiracy theorists at
Yeah.
all. But I'm like, we're not going to discuss anything in here, nor is Griffin. Outside, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't wait to get him outside and say, all right, sock it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
tell me everything. Tell me everything
yeah.
you need to know.
There might be cameras in the house, basically.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah,
was thinking at
right.
least listening devices. I mean, because
Right.
I had already learned with the short phone call that he had gotten. When I say no contact, that was an exaggeration. We got a 5 minute call on Christmas, a
Wow.
5 minute call on his birthday, which was 2 days after Christmas, and then there may have been one more 5 minute call, but like the first
Yeah.
call was cut off. They just cut it off.
You just hit the
And
5 minute, and that was it.
no, it wasn't even 5 minutes. Like Griffin, I think his brothers were asking him. We were all there, like
Yeah.
around the phone, so that everyone could talk to him, and we were excited to talk to him. And it was a bad time. We'd never had him. He had not missed a Thanksgiving or a Christmas and a birth. Like it truly was as tough on us. Maybe not in the same way, but it sucked for
Yeah.
us too. It sucked for us too. So as soon as he started to kind of like, he wasn't even saying anything bad really, but when he started going into what I assumed to be detail about the school, they said, "Time's up."
Yeah.
You could hear the dude in the background say, "Time's up," and Griffin's like, I've got to go, Mom."
That's the worst. That I could tell you, coming from being a student, like that first phone call and like that moment of having to hang up with your family, like it is the worst. Like it's the most exciting feeling to get the phone call in the first place. Is like you're at the highest of highs, but when you get off that first phone call, you are just, oh my, it's so terrible. Like it is.
Griffin said one of the things that bothered me so bad, and I'll never forget it. He said the best part of every day for him is when he was asleep, and it was right before they told him, before they said, get up, or I don't know if they turn on the lights or whatever they do.
Yeah.
He said when I was asleep, those 10 seconds after I woke up, when I thought I was at home, like I wake up And then once I'm awake and look around and realize I'm still here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. I know exactly what he's saying. It's terrible.
it unbelievable. And see, he couldn't tell us any of this stuff at the time.
Yeah.
They were clearly reading his mail and just not, I guess, I'm assuming just not sending it if they didn't like what it said.
Yeah, that's what they would do.
I don't know.
You have to turn in the letters unsealed. You have to, when you write your letter home, you turn it in unsealed. They read it, and if there's anything remotely in there that they don't like or they don't agree with or whatever, depending on the severity of what you're saying in the letter, if you're just saying, "Mom, take me home," they're abusing me. Oh man, like you're in trouble. But if you're just maybe saying some things in there they don't like, then they just won't send the letter. So it's
Or they'll black it
but-
out.
Yeah, they shouldn't send them.
They'll black
yeah,
it-
but you're saying that you also wrote him and he wasn't getting your letters.
Yes, because clearly they didn't like what we had to say.
So was that part of the? I wonder I'm not sure how in depth you read the contract. Like, was that somewhere in there where they said that they can limit your communication with your child? Like, we get to pick and choose whether we deliver your letters
It's
or
possible that it could have said that. I didn't go into it because
yeah,
when it came time for when I don't want to go back and forth in time, but
okay,
once I decided to get him, they found out about, like, I was on the edge of town when I called, and there
Right.
was no arguing. I didn't give a damn what the contract said.
right, yeah,
I mean, I was fully prepared to say, sue me, but I'm
Yeah.
taking my kid out of this hellhole.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh, oh, Oh.
sorry. I
okay.
got
There it is.
someone tried to call me inside of the car.
But-
So
You-
okay.
Real quick, the schooling that you were talking about too, I think that's important. Also, coming from a parent to hear that, because the kids talk about the schooling and it not being
Yes,
accredited.
and I have a degree in education.
Right, so
I'm
you
telling
know what
you,
you're
it
talking
is-
about. Yes.
I have never in my when I saw that what he was doing, and
Yeah.
I feel like it was like from 1985. Do you remember? Like you would circle, put the little,
Yeah.
or
That's
even now. Well, hell, even now they do ACT online.
right.
There wasn't computer access. There wasn't. I mean, there literally, it was pencil to paper
Yeah.
and no instructor.
Right. Yeah. You sit in that cubicle like you're talking about, and you have different flags you put up on the top of your desk. If you're ready to go score your own work to see if you did it right or not, you put up a flag, and then someone will walk by, a staff member will say, "You can go grade." You go grade it. You find out if it was right or wrong, and then you come
Hey,
back
why
and
would you
fix
just
it.
walk up there and mark what you
And that's
see?
what
That's what I
most-
would do.
That's what most
I
kids
mean-
do, right? And that's what these kids. And then,
Because
but
you're
the
not
thing-
learning anything. To me, that's busy work.
right? Exactly.
To me, that's
It's-
equivalent. That program is equivalent to when a teacher says, you're going to stay in at recess and write, "I will not talk during class" 100 times.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I would equivalent that
PACE
learning
program.
system.
Yeah. It's garbage. It's garbage.
yeah,
Oh, and he is so behind, and he's so smart, but so on top of missing things, he's so behind because
Yeah.
of that.
right. Yeah, and what they do is they do an assessment. I'm not sure if you mentioned this, but they do an assessment test when you get there, and most
Yes,
kids
and
will
I
be
don't
in.
know about the validity of their diagnostic testing. I
Right.
really would love to see what they use.
Right, because we'd have seniors coming in, seniors,
Mhm.
17-year-olds, and they're being put in sixth grade work, and like having to work from sixth grade all the way up, and it's
Busy
like,
work. Because
Right.
there's not a teacher there, so what's it going to matter?
right?
So if they're
I know.
buying time, they're just saying, here, we'll start you off right here. This ought to give you plenty to keep you busy.
Right?
But it's not
Yeah.
teaching them a dadgum thing.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
It's so sad.
Yeah,
I feel like I did not do my due diligence in researching. I think we were kind of desperate
they
and-
feed off of that.
and didn't
Yes.
know and then they said all the things that we want, oh, it's a loving,
Right.
caring, and then got the little boy saying, I love you, Mom. And
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
they do that so you could drop your guard. If you feel
Yeah.
Right.
a little bit
Yes.
leery about it,
Yeah.
they start
Right. And
saying nice things. Okay, well, maybe it isn't so
and
bad.
I think that they're very used to women being submissive, and I say this for a reason. It was clear to me in the times that I called that they didn't. They would have preferred it were my husband calling,
Right.
but
yeah.
Why would we want to
Get
talk
over
to
it,
you?
dude.
You're a woman. That's basically
Right.
how
right.
it is.
Do you know what I'm
yeah.
saying? I'm not saying they teach that. I don't know, but that was the feeling I got.
They're Baptists. Yes, they do.
Yeah, they're very much like that. It's
Yes.
it's the man of the house, the woman just sit there, shut up, get in the kitchen and make something to eat type of thing. It's like you're if you're a woman there, you're not outspoken, you're not the spotlight, you're just
And like,
operating
I'm
in the
not
background.
in any way, shape, or form a feminist. I'm really not. I like Southern and traditional values. However, nothing makes me madder than for someone to insult my intelligence. And a
Yeah.
lot of times that's how I felt when they would talk to me like they had to dumb it down. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
buddy, if you graduated with the PACE program, I think I probably got you beat.
Just a little bit.
Well, see, the thing with the Baptist, I'll do a real quick side note here. The Baptist,
And you do mean like hard when you like my I have
Fundamental
dear
independent
friends
Baptist.
fundamental, hardcore, fire and brimstone Baptists.
Yeah, fire and brimstone. Okay.
Yes.
See,
Yeah.
our Jesus is butterflies and rainbows
Right.
and nice, and he loves us all. And he does not he would not want the preacher calling kids faggots,
Right.
which we heard with our own ears
And one thing they
in
do,
that church service.
yes, with the Southern Baptist, independent fundamental Baptists, I should say,
Okay.
they prepare the men for the ministry. Okay, that's why they send them to Jack Isles. Okay, to get
Yeah.
them.
See,
What-
I don't know what that is.
It's a college that
It's a fundamental independent Baptist college, just like one of
Yes.
the bigger ones.
and women
Oh.
I've never heard of it. Okay.
and women, they prepare them to be keepers at home.
Yeah.
Have the babies, take care of the house, make sure you got food on the table when your husband comes home. That's how they prepare women.
Yeah, and they would talk like that there. I remember the preacher there. I still remember this all these years later. He was preaching a sermon one time, and he was talking about finding a good wife and finding this and that. And he looks at his wife in front of the whole congregation. He's like, "My wife, you see her right there. She's not that beautiful. She's not that good looking of a woman, but she is a good woman. She's a good woman and a good wife to me." And we were just like sitting like, "What did he
I don't
just
have
say?"
words.
Yeah. We're like, what did he just say? Like, he's like, you need to find a good woman like that that'll stick
And
by your
was that
side.
necessary? Like, why not just say
Right.
the good woman part? He could have left
Right.
out the she's
Right.
not good looking.
I know, like,
Well, they're women. Their women are punching bags. I mean, they're humiliated.
it's
They're
sad.
degraded. Yeah. And what are they going to
Yeah,
do? They don't believe in divorce. So
Right.
the woman
Well-
just takes it, which is sad.
yeah. Yeah.
So, do you want me to get to where, because I know we're getting lengthy in time, and I know you'll edit some of this, like I said, and cut out the unnecessary, but I do want to get to where I call Griffin. They let me call him. I basically demanded it. I said, we were supposed to have our 4-month visit. Well, it kept getting put back and put back and put back and put back because of Corona. Well, Corona wasn't going anywhere, and I guess they finally realized that. I had no idea that they did not tell these kids.
That's what Griffin said.
Mhm.
Yes, they never told him.
Yeah.
So when I call Griffin and I tell him we can't make it, he's thinking we can't make it because we have something else to do. No, we would drop everything. We were going to be there, come hell or high water. We
Yeah.
would have gone. We would have walked through the plague to get there
Right.
to see him. I mean, Corona wouldn't have stopped us. We would have gone anyway. They would not let us come there. So
But they weren't telling him that. He didn't know
No,
about it. So all
no.
he
So
all
when
he
I
knew
tell
for
him, I'm
yeah.
like, Griffin, I said, I am so, so, so sorry. But they're not going to let us come to your 4 month. And I mean, I could hear like the crack in his voice. It made me sick to my stomach. He said, what? Why? Like it
Yeah.
killed me because he isn't one. He's usually pretty happy and jovial, and I could hear the crack in his voice. And I said, Griffin, it's not us. I said, it's the coronavirus. He said, they told us that it's just a flu that they're blowing out of proportion. I said, well, that isn't true. I said, and what have I taught you since you were a baby? He said, I know, cite your source. I said, well, maybe you should tell them that. Cite your
Oh no.
source.
He would he would
They would have probably put him on the wall. Yeah.
yeah, Browntown or something. But
That's what they told these kids.
yeah,
And
but
so, like, here I am, his mother had to break his heart.
yeah.
And it broke our hearts. Like, we wanted to see him. So a couple of weeks after that, we were told that he told us that we could, and I was told on the what do you call it, the tour,
Yeah.
that we could attend church. Well, since we couldn't get the visit, I thought, well, hey, sorry, I had another call. I thought, well, hey, I'll just we'll go to church. We'll just, we need to see what this is about anyway.
Right. Amazing, right?
Never been to one of those, have you?
No, I have not. I
Fire and brimstone. Yep.
I could go on and on about it. I don't want to offend anyone in their religion, but like I had to threaten my own mother with bodily harm because I said, if you get us called out, I swear I will whoop your ass myself right here.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
she was giving it the big every time he would say something that to her was, because we weren't raised in church like that, and it was just it was hard to hear. It was hard. I'll give you an example. There was a couple, a couple, like an adult couple who chose to come to church. Now, in the church I grew up in, everyone's welcome. Hey, if you get there late, at least you came. At least you showed up,
Yeah.
So this preacher, I don't know, what do they call him? Brother. It's all, anyway, brother, whatever.
Pastor.
He was
Brother
an
Burton.
older fella.
Yeah.
I think he's like the main pastor or the main preacher or whatever.
Brother, kind of bigger dude. Brother Burton.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
kind of bulldog looking guy.
Yes. He was the one. Yeah. We were there for the service when he said that they brought his flaming dessert out, and he asked them if they made it with alcohol and to send it back. Griffin can do a great impression, but he was spot on. He said it, and Mark and I are like, are we fixing to catch a flame like right here just by our mere presence in this place? Because I'm sure both the way we were dressed, our demeanor, our everything about us screamed that we did not belong there. We didn't fit in. And then you've got my mom's sign thinking that she's going to get this dude behind us who's amen and everything.
Yeah. Wow. But you were saying, you said earlier that when you were there, he said he calling some of the kids faggots. What was he saying? Do you remember?
He called one kid, and it just made me
cringe.
Like I just wanted to I was embarrassed both for the kid and for the man. I was embarrassed that he said that.
Was it in a derogatory way as far as just or no, was he saying it as he's like the kid's gay and he was using to call him gay, he was saying faggot. He was just name calling.
He was name calling. He
From the
got off
pulpit.
from behind the podium and he said, "I will not say this behind the Lord's on the Lord's altar, but you faggots." And then pointed. He didn't say a name, but
Yeah.
he said, "You you little faggot," and pointed at this kid. It made me want to vomit. It was disgusting. I mean, Mark probably had bruises on his leg from me squeezing his leg like I'm fixing to
Oh,
throat punch that asshole.
yeah. Wow.
Something bad's fixing to happen because this is disgusting.
Yeah.
So this
Yeah.
adult, these adults come in and they say, and it was like at the beginning song or whatever. He points at him and like he shakes his head, and then he's about to start his sermon, when he goes, I just can't let this go. He said, you know what? And he points at this adult couple sitting right behind us. He said, "You're being late. That's not an accident." He said, "That's nothing less than a flaw in your character." And we're sitting there, and of course, my mom's sighing
Oh my
at that.
gosh.
And this is a grown couple, and I'm thinking,
Yeah.
why in the hell are they coming back here?
Right. I would have
Yeah.
walked. I would have walked out. I would have said, "Okay,"
Oh, me too.
with a finger in the air. You know.
Right.
Yeah,
And
like, buddy.
yeah.
He said,
Well,
you know what? That is nothing less than a flaw in your character.
you know what? And I hate to point this out, but they might have been on their better behavior, knowing that a student's parents were there.
If
You know,
this was
at
their better
that's
behavior,
what
then that's
I
disgusting. That's
hate to
scary.
say it, but that was they always put on their best face when their parents are there, and they know the parents are there because like they always tell the kids, you know, hey, don't act up, don't do this. They would keep kids that were the ones acting up away when parents were doing tours and stuff. So just take that in consideration. Not you, but other people listening to
Right.
this. That was their good behavior. Him calling kids a kid faggot, him doing that, like that was them being on their good behavior, knowing that their parents, this kid, you know, Griffin's parents were there. You know, like
Yeah,
come
well,
on.
so they met us at the door and told us that since we hadn't had the 4-month visit, mind you, it had been well past 4 months.
Right.
And it was because of Corona that they didn't tell them about that we didn't get to have the 4-month visit. But
Right.
since we didn't have the 4-month visit with them, we could not, they said, do not speak to him. They said, you can look at him, but you can't touch him. And Julio, I thought my mom was going to backhand him. Julio told my mother, he said, if you'd like, you can throw him kisses across the aisle.
Oh my God. You know, I have to say, Julio, who's the faggot? You know what I mean?
I
Oh
told
my
Mark,
goodness
I said,
gracious.
Mark, he said that we can't speak to him or touch him or hug him or anything like that. But if we want, we can throw, we can throw kisses across the aisle. He said, are you shitting me? I said, no. That's what they're telling us. So we're sitting there like it was never ending. And then we get in the car and we were shell shocked. Like when it was over, like we just kind of had to wave, and my mom and dad get in the car and Dawson gets in his car. Owen gets in. He's the middle brother. Dawson's the oldest. He's the one that was attending school in Springfield at the time. And we get in the car, and Owen, and I'll never forget it. We're literally, I would call it shell shocked. We had never experienced anything. Like I could go on and on about the service, but I think the whole key to getting this podcast out is for parents to realize that what they're being told is not necessarily what's going on.
Right.
So I'll leave all, the detailed stuff out. But one thing, Owen, we sit there and we're shell shocked. Like we're just shell shocked. And Owen said, fine, if y'all aren't going to say it, I will. What the fuck just happened?
He
Because
said that.
yes, He said,
Oh
fine, if
my
y'all aren't going to
gosh.
say it. Like, we were just sitting in silence in the church parking lot. He was like, fine, if y'all aren't going to say it.
What?
What the just happened?
Wow.
And our
And you were
kids get
thinking the
raised
same
in
thing
church.
already, right? Too, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
He knew we were all thinking the same thing. And so I don't want to be long winded, and I'll get to
Oh, you're fine.
what sealed the deal was later on in that week. I mean, that was enough. I was looking for, nothing had necessarily happened with Griffin or whatever.
Yeah.
They were going to do a camp. I think maybe it was a wrestling camp or something. I'm
Football,
not
maybe?
quite, I don't
Probably,
remember.
probably football. I think Griffin said football, I think.
It may have been. I can't remember, but they had to update his physical or whatever. So I get a call from the staff. I don't know if it's a doctor on staff.
It was
or
boxing. Boxing is what he said.
Yes, it was
Oh, yeah.
boxing.
Yes.
Boxing, not
Yeah.
wrestling. It was boxing. It
Yes.
sure was.
Yeah.
And he said that Griffin had pulmonary stenosis, like scar tissue in his lungs,
Wow.
which was a side effect from the vaping he was doing at such a young age in a developing body. One of the reasons that we sent it, what I'm saying, like this kind
Yeah.
of some of the things that started the ball rolling toward a boarding school
Right.
to
Right.
begin with.
Yeah.
So I said, "Oh my gosh! Well, where are you taking him?" And I'll let me make some calls, and because I want, I'm thinking I'll take him to St. Louis Children's. They'll be the best. This, that, and the other. And he said, "I'll try, but I don't think that's going to be possible." And I said, "I beg your pardon."
Right.
He said, "I don't think that they're going to allow you to come." And I said, "Well, I don't think you know who you're talking to. Like, that is my child.
Yeah.
And if he's going to a doctor's appointment, I will be there. And if that is not if you're going to keep that from happening, then we need to reevaluate this situation."
Right.
And that's exactly what we did. He called me back. He did say, he said, "I went and I talked to the people in charge, and they just said, no, they can't allow that. He's not been here long enough. They didn't feel like that would be a good thing for you to have contact until, I don't know until what, because Corona was
Right.
still running."
Right.
It's like they were just pushing it off, like the
Yes.
letter, the phone calls, the visit,
Yes.
like everything, like no contact with him, even the church
Yes.
service.
Yes. We could throw him kisses.
One thing, it's like my wife too. You never come between a mother and her son.
Oh.
Right.
Never.
Like
Right.
I could feel my ear, my chest turning red. I could even talk about it. Probably see it makes my chest turn red and my blood pressure starts going up. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't think not, and I don't mean to say that I'm somebody. My point in saying that was, come hell or high water, I will be there with my child.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
You're not talking to someone who doesn't give a damn. We care. That's
Yeah.
why I'm, and so that was on, gosh, I don't want to tell you the wrong date, but let's just guesstimate and say that was on a Wednesday that he
Mhm.
told me no, he checked with them and that I wouldn't be able to attend this doctor's appointment. The following day, I left first thing and I called them right at the edge of Stockton.
Which is a small town, so that's not very far from.
Tiny town. But I was scared based on what we had seen at that service. I was scared to give them any, I didn't want there to be any amount of time in which they could take it out on him. That was my fear, is that they would mistreat him. If I gave them the heads up that I was coming to pick him up and gave him like a whole day, I didn't want that whole day to be a torturous hell for him. And I was
That
not confident that that wouldn't happen.
that pisses me off. That you're paying these people this money to take care of your son. They pitch this place, all these things, right?
And
And
they
all
do it in
the
the name of God. And we are
right,
Christians. And, that
right,
in and of itself is offensive to me. To abuse
yeah,
kids and do it and say you're doing the Lord's work. Shame
yeah,
on them. Shame on them.
Yeah,
yeah. And
exactly.
for you to be scared that you can't you, that they were going to do something to him like that, just for you as a mother to as a
Yes.
parent to have that fear, that should not exist. That
No.
should not. You should
But
not.
Mark and I talked about before we left, and I'm like, I'm not going to give them any notice. He was like, no, I wouldn't either. So I walked in the front office, and this is another reason that I feel, they make such a big to do about, they're like a brotherhood, and they're gonna, they're gonna nurture that with God's love and kindness and
Yeah,
nurturing, and they're gonna transform your child into this whatever.
right.
So all this, do you want to know how, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this. I called at the edge of town. I said, hey, this is April Ross. I'll be there. I said, I'm on the edge of town. I'll be there within, I don't know, 5 minutes. If you could send Griffin out, I am withdrawing him from the school immediately. And I didn't say, well, what do I need to do? Who do I need to talk to?
Yeah,
That's what I was going to do. I just made a statement. And she said, okay, I'll let them know, which tells me that this was probably more common. And that's another reason they didn't want, like I said before, you to pay in advance
yeah,
so they don't have to worry about refunds.
right.
So I got there and I walked in. The whole process of getting him released to me took me as a parent less than 5 minutes
Wow.
to withdraw a child from a boarding school.
They didn't try talking you into
Nope.
keeping them or
Well, and
nothing.
I wasn't, I think they could tell I was not going to be receptive to anything like that.
Right.
And
Wow.
Griffin tackled me to the ground. I mean, he was crying and I've never seen him like that.
It's like you just rescued him from something terrible.
Yes.
Yes.
And I didn't know what it was, but I felt just that yucky, sick feeling when we left that service that
Yeah.
just, this is not, I don't want him here. And shame on them, and never will we be without the guilt.
I'm sorry to hear that. That was, and I keep thinking in my mind like, oh, he was there for years. He was only there for 4 months,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
This was 4 months.
Like 4.5, almost 5.
Okay.
But nonetheless, it was.
But all this damage, all like
Mhm.
this school that's supposed to be repairing the relationship with you and your kid and all this other stuff, all this damage that happened within just 5 months, and now like, and for you to say that you have to live with this, like, which I'm sorry to hear that, like that, that's not what's preached to you. That's not what's marketed to you. That's going to happen at the school and to anybody,
No,
right?
not at
Are you
all.
serious, James? If they marketed it like that, they wouldn't have any kids.
Right? Yeah. Right.
No,
Like withholding the letters, the
someone,
visits.
someone has got to get in there, with some authority.
Well,
And
I've got an update once we get off the podcast. So, you guys
mhm.
so,
Yeah. But it.
but
But
being I'm sorry,
no, go ahead.
being a parent myself, April, I always tell the guys that come on, parents screw up. They're not perfect.
We are not perfect.
We're human,
No.
just like everybody else.
We learn as we go.
Yes, and yes, it's terrible that he went through that, but all you can say is, I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
Yes.
You know,
And we
it's-
have, I'm like, and he
Yeah.
knows. And I'm like, we didn't know, Griffin.
Yeah.
We did not know.
It's not like you knew
And-
that everything that was going on with the abuse. He just threw it in
No.
there.
Oh, my
Yeah, exactly.
goodness, no.
Yeah.
But they,
No,
but they,
we have a
but
clue.
they say that there. When you're there as a student going through these things, they tell you that it's your fault that you're here. If you didn't do this to your parents, if you didn't push them to their wits' end to send you here, like it's your fault they're here. They know what's like. They make it sound like that the parents know what's going on, which drives even more of a divide between you and your parents because you're like, my parents know that they're going to be doing this stuff to me here, and they willingly paid for these people to do this to me.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then
see,
it causes tension.
we have a tight family. Like,
Yeah,
we have raised our kids to always be able to come to us no matter what it is. Even if we don't want to hear what it is, they know they can come to us without judgment. We may not like it, whatever it is, but we're here.
yeah,
Both my husband and I, their dad, we're here for them anytime. So I think Griffin is smart enough, or at least I hope, and we've talked about it quite a bit, about the fact that I did not know, that it was not presented to me, and I'm sure not to other parents, the way that it is,
Yeah.
that it actually is. Like, it wasn't presented to me accurately.
right,
They didn't say we'll be taping kids' heads to the wall and we'll be.
right.
It's just, but like, I felt sick when we left. We felt sick to our stomachs.
He told you about the kid with Tourette's that had the cardboard
Yes.
blinders on.
Yeah, yeah,
That is sick. I don't know another name. It's sadistic. It truly is.
You're a sadist. I've said that, James. They're
He's a
sadists.
sadist.
Yeah.
It's sadist behavior. It really is.
Right.
Take pleasure in it.
yeah.
But,
It's just
I don't have a lot more really to share because once I got him out,
yeah,
I was like, hallelujah. I mean, he
Right.
was happy. I was happy. And thank God we have a great relationship. And his brothers, I mean, they were so glad to get him out of there. And something has to be done about this place. And hopefully more parents maybe will come on and share their experiences, because maybe they had a completely opposite experience than mine. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I tell people. It's like, whether it's a good experience or a bad experience, you come on the podcast.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine is very, mine's not as fun to listen to as Griffin's, but
Right.
it's, we have the same opinion about the place, and something needs to be done.
Now, there have been kids who have come out, and we've talked to them, James, who said, they got a great relationship with their parents. But then there are
And
some, too bad the parents and them are just, the wedge has been driven against them, and
Yeah.
they don't talk to them.
And I can only imagine that this didn't help. I would say,
Right.
hey, this was a big culprit.
Yeah,
Right.
it is. That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
drove the wedge between them.
Yeah, exactly. If it already existed, it typically made it worse. Like with my family, when I first got out, I just did not want to get sent back there. So I was everything that I should be.
Mhm.
So to my family, I was the success story. It worked, but then the damage after that and everything that happened, which hopefully Griffin doesn't go through and doesn't deal with, because he was there for a short time, and it sounds like he has a great relationship with you guys. But so many guys I know that came out of there just have mental issues, but they were there for years and stuff. So and hearing
And then the idea that they had these kids participate in these restraints and things like that,
right,
that makes me beyond angry.
yeah, it's crazy. And so with everything you said, so you also mentioned that the schooling accreditation, 'cause that's one thing that they pitched there, that they're accredited and the credits transfer and everything's fine with that. But we've heard over and over again from kids, mind you, that the credits didn't transfer.
I
do you
can
have any?
tell you that nothing transferred from his 4 months there. I mean, that's all I can go on.
Yeah, right.
But I don't even know an equivalent to what he was doing that would
Equal a normal school session
exactly.
or something, right?
There's no comparison. There's no
The
rubric to go by.
Right. The only way they would transfer is if you went to a Christian school or a college or something. Then they would transfer. But if it's a public school or any type of state-run school, no transfer.
I mean, even like he said, MMA now, he begged to go back. He loves it there at Missouri Military Academy.
Yeah.
And I mean, they have top-notch educators, and they're accredited.
Yeah.
and it's a private boarding school, but they have to follow the guidelines of accreditation.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
I mean, I don't know. I think the whole place, it's sick. It's I feel like there's some it's like tentacles. The more I've read and learned that kind
Yeah.
of go out, there's this seed of the one gentleman family, whatever, and then they
Yeah.
kind of these tentacles, and it's at the end of the day, what makes the world go round. They
Money.
can say they're doing the Lord's work, but it's
Yeah.
the dollar.
Yes. It's remember, James, all about the money. You know what I
It
mean?
really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
And
You
I
know.
was telling the guys on Sundays, it's like it's a big rabbit hole. You know, you go
Yeah.
you go deeper and deeper, and just when you think you hit the bottom, they dig
Yeah.
another tunnel into another cavern. And it just goes deeper. There's just
You know,
there's no
and
end
I
to
don't
it.
know this for a fact, but I would almost bet money that they require their personnel to sign NDAs.
Oh, they
Yep.
do. They
Oh
do.
yeah. It
Do
is.
they?
Yeah. You can't say anything negative about the school or go to the news or anything. Like
Because
you
I
signed a
can't
contract.
imagine
Like,
any person, unless they were under a gag order,
yeah.
that wouldn't come out of there and say, "I can't believe look, I had to have a job, I did this, but
Right.
Right.
this is whack over here. This is
I mean, I can
not cool."
understand other places doing an NDA if it's something that's like classified or private, but if it's
Sure,
Right.
and I could
but
see them doing like trying to follow HIPAA guidelines
right,
or
if it's a
things like
religious
that.
school, if it's a religious school and they're telling you keep your mouth shut, something's wrong.
Yes. Right. That sounds cultish to me. You can't talk about what we do here. You can't share it. You can't
Yes,
say
I'm
anything
telling you,
negative about the school.
that's how we felt. Like when
If
we
if
left, we felt sick,
if
like
they're so
just
religious,
grossed out.
yeah, if they're so religious, they should be sharing it with everybody. The love of Christ. This is what happens at the
Yes.
school. It's great.
Isn't that our
No.
job?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And if they're doing such a great job that, like our friend mentioned the other day, Jason, on the other podcast, he mentioned if they're doing such a great job, there should be psychiatrists, there should be like newspaper articles about how amazing they are. They're
Yes.
changing these kids' lives. They're getting all these awards for doing stuff. It's like, like I found them on a website. There's a website that rates these schools. And I found Agape on there. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to leave a 1-star review on this website because they had all these 5-star reviews. But the website, this one specific website that popped up, you only can leave a 5-star review. Like you can't pick anything less than 5 stars. So I put a
They own the
5-star.
site.
Yeah. So I put a 5-star review, but then I said I would leave 1 star, and I left this whole thing, and I submitted the comment, and it didn't even appear up there. It was like, the deeper you go into this stuff, also we looked into the accreditation that the one that they had. The president of that accreditation organization was I believe he was the dean of students at Agape at one time. So it was like, to your point of these tentacles, you described that perfectly. That's exactly it.
And of course, some of the staff are marrying into the Clemenson daughters, and
Yes,
married.
which is
Right, yes.
even more like a cult. It's just intertwining, and I mean, I feel like the family tree is just one stick. It's like a trunk with no branches.
they're out there just chanting and everything else, like a big cult.
Sheesh. I mean, like we felt like we were fixing to like start chanting, or like it was weird. It was
something you don't want to go through again.
But I guess to sum it up, like from everything you're saying too, like the issues that you had and everything. But thank you for. I just want to say thank you for coming on. Like it's I know it takes a lot to come forward and say this and speak about this, and especially from a parent's perspective, like it means a lot to us guys that have already spoken up.
It is no thank you necessary. I feel like I think it's a parent's duty to share this message before other kids have to be put through what we inadvertently put ours through without knowledge. We did not know. Yeah. Hopefully others can either, if they watch this, if they're thinking about sending their child there, they can watch this. And, I'm not a, what do you call it? A troll? Like one of the people, I'm not
Right.
some nut job. I mean, we experienced this and went through it, and it is terrible. I cannot even imagine the damage done had he been left, had we left him there for a year. I can't even, I can't wrap my head around it.
Right.
But I think legislators need to be involved. I think there need to be some governing. There needs to be some governing of this school and its tentacle schools.
Right.
Because I think they're all over, and I think some accounting needs to be done, because you know that it's a nonprofit, yet they're paying.
Right.
You're paying what if you go all year, it's what, $38,000.
Yeah, so I think it's like 38,000, like 40,000 a year that you're paying per student, 150 students.
Plus the donations that they ask for and all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't send any donations. Nope.
Good. And like you said, if a parent sees this, you know how it says one person comes, I'll go and do it. You know, so it just
yeah, and maybe they had a better experience than I did, and I respect that.
Yeah.
Ours was not good.
Yeah.
And you know, but I respect everyone's opinions. I just wanted to share ours, especially since Griffin had just finished with his, so it would be fresh on my mind, and I could kind of bounce off of some of the points that he had made.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So if you could stay on for 5 seconds after the podcast.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
I want to ask you something. So thank you for watching the Hammer Podcast. James, you did a great job with the intro. It's awesome.
Thank you.
And it is January 26th, so you forgot the date, but that's okay. We forgive you.
Shoot.
We forgive you. Thanks for watching.
Cool.
Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. The channel is growing. I mean, I look at it every day, and it just keeps going up and up. So if you if you want to come on, there's a number at the top of the channel page. Give me a call. All right. So for the Hammer Podcast, I'm Jason. Thank you, April, for coming on.
Sure.
Thank you, James, for coming on as well. All right. So everybody, take care of yourselves. You take care of each other.